안녕. I've been wanting to do something like this for a while now, but it took me some time to set everything up for it. You know what I mean? Now, what I wanted to do was actually take a look at some of the chords, right, for a song. Of course, we just had the Ready to Be album released recently, right? And one of the songs on the album that I really enjoyed that kind of stood out to me from the first listen through was Wallflower. And I've seen a lot of appreciation for the song online too. Like, you know, not every song on the album is good, of course. We've already established that. You know, that's a given, right? And I've looked at the chords for pretty much every song on the album, but Wallflower really got me, right? And there are some other people who also had a similar experience, right? Because I seen them post about it and stuff, and that's why I'm always curious. That's why I look up at least the chords for songs. Like it's very difficult to find transcriptions of the music and stuff, like actual lines of the music, the whole song or whatever. Those are, available, probably not without a charge, and that's because of copyright and different things like that. But you can at least find chords from people who like use their ear and figure out what the chord progression is and stuff. And so I will look for those, and it's always interesting because from the very beginning, right? I mean, if a song is using 4 chords or 3 chords or 5 chords, then it's very much a modern contemporary type of chord progression, and I'm like, okay, I get it. You know what I mean? Because this is already it's an established thing, right? You only need 3 chords. I mean, to make a pop song, that's all you need. A lot of people use 4. Or maybe sometimes 5. It all depends, right? But every so often I'll hear a song and I'm sitting there and I'm counting along and I'm like, okay, well, and I'm going, well, this definitely isn't like just 3 or 4 chords. Like there's something else going on here, something familiar, but not really what the pop sort of chord structure always does. You know what I mean? It's just like a little bit more to this, right? And of course, it's always whatever the styling is, right? Whatever the production, whatever it is that they're trying to do for the song. If they're trying to make a dance song or a ballad or like a pop, hit or something. I mean, it all depends, right? So all these different elements to consider. But when I heard this song, I was like, oh man, that's really good. Like it got me. Yeah, on like a visceral level is what I would say. So I was very curious about it. Now, I look up the information about the song, the basic stuff, like, Wikipedia entries, stuff you can find on the album. And the composer credits for the song are listed as Peter Rycroft, Tyler Parks, and Laura Anderson. Now, Rycroft, I know I've seen that name before. I know this guy's done other work, probably for Twice or other JYP groups, or probably for a lot of different groups. You know what I mean? I don't know how. I don't know exactly how it works. I know probably some companies like to work with certain producers and certain composers and certain session musicians and stuff like that. So you'll probably see a stronger correlation that way. But I know I've seen the name before, right? And so I'm okay. Well, it seemed to me like this guy knows something that I know, that I'm familiar with. Maybe he had a similar background, similar upbringing. Maybe a classical type of training, right? And when you look up the Wikipedia entry, it describes this song as Latin influenced. And I said, oh yeah, definitely. I definitely hear that. I likened it to the sound of a milonga, which is a South American type of dance rhythm. It's really derivative of like a tango, you know, like I've heard milongas called sort of like the working man's tango before, you know, but very danceable and with a little bit of that flavor to it, just that Latin sort of flavor. I said, oh yeah, I can feel it. Like it's one of the things about it that gets me, you know what I mean? And so I thought, man, I really need to like see. I need to see this progression, right? Because I just got to understand like what are they doing here? What is Rycroft doing, right? What are they all doing? And so I'm gonna go over a couple of things, right? And there's gonna be some music theory talk involved here. Now I'm not gonna get too in depth because. This, you know, who knows how long this video is going to run. It's probably going to be like kind of longish, you know what I mean? But I'm going to try to keep it streamlined. I'm going to try to, you know, just talk about the important parts, I guess. So one of the things that we're going to have to talk about is scales, right? Now, to keep it real simple, you've got major scales and you've got minor scales. And you'll hear oftentimes people say like, this song is in the key of A minor, or this song is in the key of G major, something like that. And what that means is that it's the scale that it's based on, right? Now, keeping it very simple, you have a scale. It's all based off intervals. Certain intervals give it a major quality, certain intervals give it a minor quality. And the notes that appear within the scale are the same notes that are going to be used to make the chords, right? This song, Wallflower, is in the key of B flat minor. It's a minor key song. To keep it very simple, B flat just means that there are 5 flats that appear in the scale, right? It's going to start on the root with the B flat, and then it's going to go up to a C natural. Then we got a D flat, E flat, F natural, G flat, A flat, and up to the octave B flat again, right? That's the pure minor. But the point is, those are your notes. That's your scale, right? B flat, minor. Now, there's something called a circle of fifths. And the circle of fifths is just a tool to build chord progressions. Chord progression that's based off the circle of fifths, right? Circle of fifths progression. This is something that's been around since the Baroque period. So since, you know, before Mozart, like like back in the 1500s, 1600s, has been around for quite a long time. So you've heard it before. Like this is one of the aspects of the song that also helps you to like enjoy it, right? Is the familiarity to it, the sort of like feels like something you know, even if you don't know it, you know, even if you haven't heard it, you're hearing it for the first time. You're like, oh, but there's something about this that's like, oh, I can feel it, right? It gets to me. It's because it's a circle of fifths progression. Now this is interesting because it's not a 4-chord song. It's not a 5-chord song. You know, this uses most of the chords that are possible, with the exception of one, right? They've switched it, but it's still within the confines of conventional voice leading, is what they call it, or tonal harmony. This is just the idea of actually using something like a circle of fifths progression, right? Because everything is going to come back to the one. It's going to come back to your B flat minor. That's the home, right? So tonally, everything is structured around that chord and that sound. Now, when I say that we have chords built off the scale, it's, you know, if I play the scale up to the 5th, we got B flat, C, D flat, E flat, and F. So when I want to build the chord, I need my root, I need my 3rd, I need my 5th. All these notes appear in the scale already. So that's simply what I mean by, you spell your chords or you build your chords off the pitches that are already in the scale. The only exception to this is going to be the 5, but we'll look at that when we get up to the 5 chord. Now, this is all just really interesting to me, and if you have the theory understanding, if you have the technical understanding, then you probably could sort this out also, if you haven't already. But let's see. Okay, so we'll just actually look at the chords, right, that are in a circle of fifths progression, right? So we have our key and we have our corresponding scale. We know what a chord progression is, a circle of fifths progression, right? And so what we have in the circle of fifths progression, we're going to start on the 1, right, which is B flat. And then if we go up to the 4, that's going to be an E flat minor chord. Again, all keys that are in the scale already, right? And then we're going to go to a 7, right, which is, if we're talking B flat, it's the chord that would appear right before you get back to the 1, right? So in this case, it's an A flat major, the big 7, subtonic 7. We call it the big 7, right? Now, if I'm going to go to the 3, that's the big 3, so we're going to have a D flat major, right? Again, all notes appear in the scale as it is. You don't have to change anything yet, right? Now, the 6 is going to be our G flat, right? Also a major chord. Again, they all appear within the scale. Now, in the regular circle of fifths progression, what you have next is the 2 diminished. Now, this is a C diminished chord. I'm sorry, right here. C diminished. So here's a C major, right? C, E, G. Here's a C minor, C, E flat, G, and then here's a C diminished. It's very like crunched, right? So like squished down, right? And this chord, we'll get back to this because in the song, this is where they make a change up for that diminished chord. Now the 5 is the next chord in the circle of fifths progression, and this is going to be an F major. Now this is where the change comes, right? Because we should have an A flat, right? We built the A flat major chord, right? But if we kept the A flat, we would have an F minor. But we need to have a major 5 chord because we need to make a stronger resolution. The 5 chord is considered the dominant chord, right? It's the dominant chord of the key. So it's to do with the relationship between this and this. You hear the way these notes resolve, and it's really this going to this and this going to this, right? And you'll hear this 5-2-1 in all kinds of music, not just classical stuff. You'll hear it in pop, you'll hear it in contemporary stuff, you'll hear it in all kinds of stuff. 5-1 is like the resolution. You can do anything. You can do 4-1, you can do 7-1. You can do whatever you want, really. But we're talking specifically about this traditional, established type of tonal chord progression, right? So we got 1, 4, 7, 3, 6, 2 diminished, 5, and 1. Now, in this song, Wallflower, if we look at the chords, we're going to see that they actually match up with this circle of fifths progression almost perfectly, right? Almost perfectly. There's one specific change that's done, and it has to do with that C diminished chord, right? They're going to not use that chord. Why? Well, it's very dissonant, for one. Like, it's not as smooth, right? So it makes more sense to substitute it with something that is less dissonant. It's going to be easier to sing over. It's going to be easier, right, to have a melody over it versus trying to do, not that you can't do it, you can, has been done, but for the effect that you want to create, for the type of song that you want to create, you're going to go ahead and substitute the 2 diminished for just the minor 4 again, right? If we look at the chord progression for Wallflower, right, we'll see that we've got our 1 chord, right? And we got our 4, right? And we got our 7. And then we're gonna have our 3. And then we're going to have our 6, right? Substitute the 2 diminished for the minor 4. Go to the 5. Right? That's actually the chord progression of the song, right? It follows it almost perfectly with the substitution of that 2 diminished chord for the 4 chord. Again, just to keep it more consonant sounding and make it smoother overall, right? But let's listen to this chord progression in the main sort of section of the song, our verse section, our intro section. You know, this is the chord progression that is used for that.
무슨 생각하니 Lonely in the eyes 너를 감싸며 한 긴장감 어색한 표정 What's on your mind 꺼내게 될 거야 너의 맘 Eyes shine.
So now you hear also when we get to the 5, right? Right? You hear this is the 7 chord, right? So we have F, A natural, C, right? And the E flat. This, you know, because if you're starting on F, so this is the actual 7, but of the chord, not of the scale. That's a bit confusing, right? Now it's a minor 7, so it's dropped down to the E flat. But this is a flat that also appears in the scale, so it's all, you know, it all lines up. It's all very consonant. Now again, that's a resolution. The E actually wants to go here. It wants to go to the F. And the C wants to resolve back down because our 1 is going to be this B flat minor chord. This is all the reason for the E flat to be included there and make it a 7 chord is just to make the resolution stronger there, right? Now let me back up a little bit. So in the intro and verse sections, basically a straight circle of fifths chord progression. Like again, stuff that's been established since the Baroque period, right? So this is what gives it such tonality. This is what gives it its appeal to your ear. Your ear is very familiar with this, right? Because it's heard it before. It's heard it in music, movies, shows, commercials, all that good stuff. Your ear knows where it wants to go. It knows where it started and it knows where it wants to go back to, right? And that's because of this tonal harmony concept, right? Because it's based off of this type of circle of fifths progression. Now, when we get to our pre-chorus section, the chord progression changes up a little bit, right? But it's still playing off of this idea of the tonality and the importance of the 5 chord, right? And the resolution back to the 1. Only what it does differently is it kind of revolves around the 7 chord for a couple of phrases, right? You'll have a G, right? And then an A. I'm sorry, a G flat, and then an A flat, and then we'll go to the 1, the B flat, but then we'll go back to the A, and then we'll start over, and we'll go G flat, we'll go A flat, we'll go B flat, and then we'll go back to that 5. Right? So, and this is, you can find examples of this in classical music too. Like there are many different examples of that. It isn't wholly new or something that was invented for the purpose of it, right? It's definitely something that occurs in this type of tonal harmony. I'm trying to think, like off the top of my head, so it's like Chopin. Certain probably like romantic period composers. I think there's lots of examples there, but there's bound to be earlier ones also. It's still what it's doing is it's using a different type of progression, a different type of chord sequence to create a different path to that resolution, because you've already heard it. You've heard now the 5-1 resolution a few times, right? By the time you get to the pre-chorus part. So it's going to sit around the 7 chord, the subtonic now, right? Which 7-1 is its own tonal resolution. It's not as strong, okay? So what it's doing is and if you look, we have a G flat major and an A flat major. Those are their major quality. Their major quality, right? And here, it goes back to the 1. Like you have 7 here, A flat, C, E flat, and then we're gonna go B flat, D, and F, right? So you actually get that resolution from the subtonic back to the tonic. That occurs. But what you had occurring before is right? And so by hanging out on a little bit of a weaker resolution for a couple bars, right? A couple phrases, it's just setting you up. It's leading your ear and training your ear back to wanting to hear that 5-1 resolution again, right? So let's just listen to the way it's done in the song.
보내게 될 거야 너의 맘 I wonder why 좀 더 가까이 와 Flowing time 더워진 vibe 흐르는 널 맡겨 Won't you dance with me Wallflower 벅찬 떨림이 어지럽게 너를 흔들지 숨겨왔던 맘을 훔치지 Dance with me, dance with me Wallflower 숨이 가빠진 이미 반응하는 빨라진 조짐 Somewhere tonight feels meant to be Dance with me, dance with me
So you see how a lot of these very established principles of tonal harmony, stuff that's been around since the Baroque period, is still so relevant to the popular music today. And this is something that I've looked at a lot of the K-pop songs that I've reacted to here. Not all of them. The ones that I really enjoy, and a lot of times, I go, oh man, I want to play this. Like I got to know what these chords are because I want to sit down and actually like try to play. Like I want to get my hands on this is what I say. because it's fun, because I enjoy it so much. And I've looked at Crazy Stupid Love. I've played that already on the guitar. Moonlight Sunrise, Set Me Free also. And I've looked at songs from other groups too. However, and I don't know all the songs from everybody yet, right? But so far, I've only seen something like almost a complete circle of fifths chord progression in twice songs. Doesn't mean nobody else does it, because I know they can. Like, I know SM knows this. I know SM's composers absolutely know this, and they've probably done it. I just haven't seen it yet. I just haven't found it. Yeah, I haven't found the song, right? But I know it's there. I know YG. Like all these companies. It doesn't matter who. I know they know this stuff. They have people working there that know this stuff, but I haven't seen it yet. I've seen it in Wallflower for one, and the other song that it occurs in is actually that I know because I've seen it, right, is Candy from the Formula of Love album. Candy, Sugar So Sweet. That song has a circle of fifths progression in it. It does. Again, this is why it's good. It's part of what makes it good. You then include the production. The instrument choice for the song. I'm just using my cheap Yamaha keyboard here, right? But it still slaps. You know what I mean? And that has to do with the composition. That has to do with what the chords are, how it's written. Then this is a JYPE song, right? So they have such great, synth sounds. They have like in the mix, all these things available in the JYPE studios. And I listened to this over and over and over again, right? And I can't tell if it's, because it sounds like a guitar to me. It sounds like even the way that it's played, it sounds like a guitar that's really wet with reverb and a really tweaked delay. Because if you listen closely, especially to the intro, that you can hear that. It's a wobbly delay, a very, very snappy, but incredibly short delay. You don't hear like the bum bum, but you hear bum, because it's like just the very beginning, the actual attack part of when those pitches are played, that bounces back, and then that's it. The delay dies after that. So it's sound to me, but it could be a synth, it could be keys, right? With the same type of production effects on it, tweaked exactly the same way, and you get that weird sort of wobbly, like snapback delay off of it. It's really, really a great sound. Like, it's a great sound, man. It's a great sound, right? And then you couple in the bass. I mean, you include the bass, the percussion, those nice little fills, and then the vocals over it too. And man, like, value, right? It's value. It's not just having like a very competently composed sort of chord progression. It's all the value that you get out of the things that are put over it, right? To make this like a banger of a song, like a song that just like grabs you, you know what I mean? And then later on, let's see, because that's pretty much what is in the song, with the exception of the rap section. That's the only other time that the chord progression changes a bit, and it's really just slightly modified for the bars, for the rap bars. It's just going to sit on the one. Like and basically when you have the rap bars going underneath it, it's not dependent on melody. It's more dependent on rhythm. So the harmonization that's going on underneath it, you know, if you just hang around the one chord for a couple of measures, and it gives plenty of space for whatever the vocalist wants to do in those lines over it whenever it gets to the rap section, right? So it's kind of like dropping the beat out or something like that. I mean, you're just giving space because that way they can move. You know, when it comes to rap bars, it's more about rhythm, perhaps a little bit about dynamics, but pitch, it's more often than not that you kind of stay even. You stay at the same place. Like, there's no need to go up or down, really. It's not about that. It's about the rhythm, right? So other than that, that's what this song consists of, and it gets its appeal tonically to your ear, the things that you want, the things about it that you want to hear, from that principle of tonality that is informed by the circle of fifths progression, which again is just something that's been around for a very long time, and you've heard it many times before. So if you didn't know that, right, like if you like, I've never heard anything about this before in my life ever, just it's the artistry behind it. It's a bit of the established artistic conventions behind it that have been in use for a very, very long, like long before any of us existed or whatever. But I just thought it was really cool. I always think it's very cool when I'm looking at music, especially like contemporary popular music, and I see that, and you know, I start to hear it right away from the sound. I start thinking like, there's something up with this. So then when I go and look, and if I find something like, oh, dude, this is straight out of the textbook, man. Like this is a circle of fifths chord progression, like, you know what I mean? So then it becomes intuitive, and it's really, really cool just to see it still used, man. And you know, it's not a surprise that I find it in K-pop. It's not a surprise that I find it in Twice. It makes a world of sense, dude. Like, it makes so much sense because that's why they're so good, man. It's like they know what it is that they're doing. It's so good, dude. It's so good. And, you know, it has to do with that understanding, that technical understanding, the background, that training, you know. And this is one of the things that was really endearing to K-pop in general, because as soon as I saw them and as soon as I heard, I was like, oh no, they're doing this for real. Like this isn't, you know, there's no gimmicks here. There's no like, oh, we'll fix it in post. Like, you know, no. They're doing it for real. Like from the beginning, it's not even like, it's just an idea in somebody's head first, right? But they do it for real. They do it the same way I was shown how to do it in college, you know, in school. Like it's the exact same thing. So that's just one of the things that just makes it super cool, right? And, you know, so me, I like to sit and play with the... It's just fun because, like, you know, once you can wrap your head around it, then you can start playing around with stuff, and then, you know, and you can kind of really get a sense for where the composers were, where they were thinking, and a little bit more what it might be like for the group once they start working on the song. You know what I mean? Like once they start actually working on the melodies, the harmonies, you know, just the feeling in general of kind of actually doing the song. This is one of the things I just really love about music and enjoy about it, and And once I realized what was going on with Wallflower, and my initial reaction to it, like it's very obvious that how much I enjoyed the song. And then I started to see other people. I started to see other fans online, posting stuff about it. And it's quite funny, actually, because all the things they come up with, man, the memes and the stuff you see posted about it. And it's just like, oh, dude, because it's wild sometimes, like me and my friends in the club when Wallflower comes on or whatever, and it's just like, whoa, dude, it's the farthest thing from Baroque period composition. But it's also not. It's also actually the same thing as Baroque period composition. So, man, I just wanted to take a look at that today and, go into that sort of explanation of it. Try to make it make sense. Let me know if I did a good job of making it make sense, or if it was just like really confusing and it was just nice to hear the chords and the song. You know what I mean? But because that'll let me know if I know what I'm talking about well enough, then I can at least like make some kind of sense, if when I try to explain it. So yeah, just let me know what you think. And I hope I get a chance to do more videos like this. You know what I mean? Like this, it's a fun thing for, if anything, just to go through some of the chords. You know what I mean? It's something I'm super curious about, and so with every song I hear, so it's fun to sit down and actually go through the stuff and try to learn it and everything. So let me know what you think, and maybe we can do some more videos like this in the future, depending on the song, right? But why does Wallflower slap so hard, man? It's because of the composition behind it, because of the production elements added, and of course because it's twice. So you put all those things together and you're gonna have like one really great song.